Well, I think there are a lot of sports in which you can win while losing, but I think boxing is number one, front and center in that regard. When people see true courage, when people see valiant sportsmanship, when people see the kind of love that grows between two fighters who appear for 12 rounds to try to beat each other to death and are actually earning more and more respect and affection for each other as each punch sails. And they realize that they've seen something special and highly unusual. Unique is an overused word. I try to stay away from saying that things are unique anymore because the word has been ruined by popular culture. Incredible is another one. Way too overused, way too ruined. But by the classical definitions, only one on the planet, and incredible, absolutely not to be believed. Boxing comes up with that more than any other sport.
I couldn't agree more. I think the perfect example of what you just described will be Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti. That is the perfect example of what you just described. It's three fights, it's brotherhood, it's war, it's absolute war, bloody, painful war. It's love, it's love and death. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. And I mean, hell, I've gone back and just for fun had drinks and just honestly rewatched the fights because in my head they're still happening. Like I don't. That's the other great thing about boxing is you don't. No one really goes back and watches those Super Bowls, you know. Or but people go back and watch old fights all the time. It's the best. I do all the time. It's my favorite thing to do. But what was that Mickey Ward Arturo Gatti trilogy to you? What does that mean to you?
Well, Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti is the perfect example of what I'm talking about when I say that you can watch two guys seemingly trying to beat each other to death for 12 rounds. And what's really happening is that they are falling in love. Mickey and Arturo fought 3 times. All of them were blood curdling, life changing, probably in some ways physical diminishing type face to face confrontations. They were extremely violent. They were in some ways difficult to watch. They were great, great fights. And all the time, those two guys were falling more and more in love with every passing moment. I have a million great memories of the two of them together. Maybe my favorite one in my head right now is the two of them insisting after the third fight in Atlantic City on getting into the same medical truck to be taken to the emergency room for evaluation together. They refused separate trucks and insisted, brothers that they now were, that they had to go together. But you know, that's just part and parcel of what a truly great rivalry is, and the story I always tell after the first fight in the Mohegan Sun Casino. And the first fight was stunning to watch, and you'll remember Emmanuel Stewart shouting, "Oh my God," over and over, and you know, a kind of combat you just didn't think you were going to see. And after it was over, Emmanuel and I and Max Kellerman gathered up our stuff and got ready to leave the position there. So I walked hallway of the Mohegan Sun Casino and ran into Gaddy's manager, Pat Lynch. And Pat was bereft and he had tears in his eyes and he couldn't get a hold of his mood. He was crying and trembling. And I said, Pat, you know, what is it that is so bothering you? He said, I can't believe we lost. I said, Pat, if we gathered up every single spectator who was in this arena tonight, every single spectator who saw and felt everything that you and I saw and felt during this fight, brought them back here a year and a half from now, and asked them who won, how many of them do you think will actually remember the official result of the fight. That isn't what matters. They both won, and they have both won for the rest of their lives, regardless of who the judges chose officially. Those two fighters know that they fought a totally even fight, toe to toe, face to face, for as long as any human being could consider the possibility of doing it. And they both walked out of here with their heads held high. It does not matter who the judges chose. And I'll believe that till my dying day. The truly great fights, it doesn't matter who won. And a lot of times people can't remember. They only remember that they saw something unlike anything else they've ever seen in their lives. And they saw two human beings go as far as they can possibly go to try to prove themselves. And at the same time, they were watching those two men fall in love. That's what fighting is.
Couldn't have said it better, Jim. Yeah, you have a knack of making me cry. You're good at that, Jim. I appreciate it. Wow, that is very beautifully said.